Welcome to Crimepedia podcast. This week, I'm your host. It's me, Cherry, and with me, as always, is my co-host with the mo-host. It is Morgan.
Hello, Cherry. How are you?
I'm great, thank you very much. I've got some exciting stuff today to tell you before we start our case. So today, or this week, has been the second birthday of our baby Crimepedia.
It has. I forgot.
Yeah, happy birthday to Valentina. Happy second birthday, sweetheart. Valentina, if you haven't been listening from the beginning, when you listen from the beginning of the show, you'll come to know who Valentina is. She was a little girl who was conceived and we were told about it on our live episode one Christmas. And we weren't told about the conception, obviously, but we were told about the being pregnant. And then we followed Mum's pregnancy the whole way through, and Valentina heard our voices in the womb the whole time. And now she's just turned 2, and she is absolutely beautiful. Beautiful little girl.
Yeah, and I got to meet her not too long ago.
I know. I'm so jealous. I didn't get to meet her.
Yeah, so happy birthday, Valentina.
Yes, and I need to say a couple of thank yous. I need to say thank you very much to Jane Pritchard, who has been suggesting some cases for me. One of the ones she suggested this week is actually one I'm working on. So I'm really excited to bring you that case. So thank you to Jane. And also to KJ on Instagram. Thank you so much for my amazing personal Nickelback video live from an event this week, which I was very, very, very excited about. Thank you very much for that. As always, she is the American version of me. We like all the same stuff. We do all the same things. We're both gluten-free. It's amazing. So yeah, so thank you guys. Thank you very much for everybody that's been sending stuff in this week. There's loads of you and I can't do all of you, but that's just some of it.
Nickelback. Seriously.
I love Nickelback. Don't even start.
Right,
I've got a recommendation for you as well. I've got a book that I read that is absolutely brilliant. It's by Dr. Marie Cassidy, and she is a forensic pathologist. And her book is called Beyond the Tape: Stories from a Forensic Pathologist's Life Amongst Death. And it is absolutely brilliant. It is a fantastic insight into the job of a forensic pathologist, and I absolutely loved it. I demolished it in like 7 hours straight. It was brilliant.
That is
really good book.
Right up your alley. That is something that I know that you absolutely loved.
Yes, it was absolutely brilliant. So if you are like me and that's your thing, then I definitely recommend Dr. Marie Cassidy's book, 100%. And that is all of the stuff for this week.
So what do you have for us case-wise?
This week is a really interesting case. It's a case with no suspects. It's a case with no motive. And it's a case with no solution. So this week's case is the case of Phillip Green. Green was an 11-year-old boy, quite the entrepreneur, and he was out collecting golf balls at a local golf course. He would sell the balls back to the golfers and earn himself some pocket money. On a cold day in Bristol in 1970, Phillip Green was doing just that. Darkness fell and he failed to return home. Philip's body would later be found with horrific injuries. Who does that to a child, and why? This is Crimepedia, and this is a case of Phillip Green. Okay, Morgan, so Gladys and Ivor Green had adopted a young baby called Philip, and they'd been taking care of Philip for quite most of his life, really. I would say he didn't really know any of his life before them. Let's put it that way. They lived on Elberton
Hmm.
Road in Sea Mills in Bristol. Now, in 1970, Philip lived just there with his parents. He was described as a nice boy, very quiet, popular at school, very polite. On the 31st of March 1970, Philip had dropped in on his friends, a boy called Philip Walsh, another girl called Christine Bennett, and her brother John Bennett. Now, the group wandered down to some fields nearby to their houses to look at the horses. Now, it was a place called Coombe Dingle, and it was just some open fields there where they could go down and look at the horses. And I don't know if they tried to ride them, but they were down there just sort of feeding them and that kind of stuff. After lunch,
Hmm.
he headed down to Shire Hampton Golf Course. Now, on the golf course, he would go and hunt for golf balls off in all the brush and stuff, and then he would sell them back to the golfers. And he would make himself pocket money by doing this. Before tea time, he returned home to show his mum the 2 shillings that he had earned whilst he was there. And he was really proud of himself that he had earned himself this money. Um, and I'm guessing he would probably go and spend that on sweets, because what else does an 11-year-old boy spend his money on? Comics and sweets, probably.
Right.
Because I remember back when I was younger, you would spend your money on comics, wouldn't you? It'd be like Dandy and Beano and things like that. And you would usually sometimes they would come with
Oh
like
yeah.
sweets attached to them. Do you remember they'd be like the tongue painters that you could sometimes get that were on there, like Dennis the Menace tongue painters and stuff? So I would imagine that's
Yeah.
probably what he spent his money on.
Me, it was mostly if I had some like I'd gather change. Mostly
Mm,
my parents' change for like
yeah.
baseball cards
Oh,
or like football
really?
cards.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where my money went. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think I collected anything like that. We used to have them here in the little the sweets that like candy cigarettes, and you'd get a football card in with those.
Oh yeah,
And so
yeah.
you'd eat the sweets, and then you'd get
Right.
the little card that came with it. So I remember the boys at school
Mm.
used to do that, or sticker books or something. So he left. So
That's
he returned back to work to home, sorry, and showed his mum the 2 shillings that he got. Really proud of himself. He had some dinner with his mum, or tea, whatever you call it, whether it's tea time or dinner time.
mhm.
And he told his mum he was going to go back out again. He didn't say where he was going, but he said he was going to go back out. So he left his home at around 6:45 that evening, and his dad, who worked at the docks at Avonmouth, which is just down the road there, returned home, and the house was obviously empty. Mum had gone off to bingo, and he assumed that Philip was with his mother, that they had gone together. So he ate the dinner that she had left for him, and then did whatever he was doing at home. And around 9:30, Gladys returned back from bingo. Now, when Ivor saw that she was alone, he asked, "Well, where is Philip?" And she thought that Philip was at home with dad, and dad thought that Philip was with mum. So obviously they then realised that the last time either of them has seen him was when mum said goodbye to him at around 6:45 that evening. So by this point, it's
Right.
like three and a bit hours later. It's dark outside, and he still hasn't come home, which is quite unusual. So they do obviously start to panic and realise that their son is out. It's dark, and that night had actually been extraordinarily cold. Um, Overnight, a snowstorm was hitting Bristol that night, and they then obviously were very, very worried because he wasn't wearing a thick winter coat when he left. So mum
Mm.
now is, they're starting to panic. Dad, Ivor, they called the police, but as soon as Ivor had alerted police, he got as many of his friends, family, parents, local like kids' parents together to make up search teams to try and find Philip. I thought this was really good. I mean, they scoured everywhere. They went all through the streets. They went to the golf club that he was known for going and getting the balls from. I think it was something stupid like 52 streets in the area that they went round to try and see if Philip was at someone's house. And obviously they're starting to get really worried. Now, this search continued until early hours of the morning. They just kept going until the weather got too bad and too cold for them to carry on. So the next day, police convened a search party, and people were starting to get to that point where, okay, he's been missing now for nearly 18 hours. Is this an April Fool's Day prank, or has something happened to this boy? But locals sort of refused to believe that something had happened to him, because that kind of thing just didn't happen in their area. It was pretty safe. There were no issues. There's no other missing children. There's no reports or news of anybody abducting children in that area at that time. So the police moved the search party onto the Shire Hampton Park golf course. This time they took police sniffer dogs with them, because when the parents went and did it, they were literally just doing it, just the parents looking through the area. Now, there are parts of this golf club that are very overgrown. It's a huge golf course, sorry. And there are parts of it that are massive. I mean, it's an 18-hole course which has one of the best par fours in the country. It boasts magnificent views across the river. It's open all year round, so it's got like wooded areas. If you go onto their website and have a look, you can see all the beautiful pictures. It is a big golf club. It's huge. So the parents obviously are not going to be able to do a fingertip search across the whole of that golf club and cover everything. As you know, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have gone and tried. I mean, good for them. It's amazing that they went out and even tried to find him. Now, immediately, the police took their sniffer dogs in, and a sniffer dog started to alert that it had detected something. Now, sadly, the body of 11-year-old Phillip Green was found in a ditch on the golf course. And it's strange. Phillip had been strangled and also bludgeoned to death. Now, near to his body he was found near the 12th hole. So that's, if you are looking at this on the map of the course, he was found near the 12th hole. And very close to him, but in some trees, so not next to his body, but in some trees, was a bloodstained piece of oak branch, which had been broken into two. Now, one of the pieces of this oak branch was resting on his neck and by his side, and there was more of that in the trees. Now, detectives believe that was what was used to kill him. His body, from what I can read online and of the reports, his body was spread out on a bed of leaves. So I found that quite strange for a crime scene, is that there seemed to be these like beech leaves spread out on the floor, and his body was lay on top of these, face up. But then the wood or the branch that they believe was used to kill him was resting on his neck and on down by the side of him.
It sounds like they took their time to
Mm.
place him where he was found.
It sounds placed, doesn't it? It sounds like
Yeah.
an area was made for him. And the other thing that I found was quite confusing is the positioning of his body. Now, I've read some different reports, so you might have to excuse me for that if I'm reading from the wrong report. But one of the reports said that he was face up. Another report said he was face down. It makes more sense to me that he was face down if the contusions through the back of his head. There's no autopsy
Right.
report, post-mortem report online for me to be able to read, unfortunately. But it's just descriptions of his injuries. But I understand that the
Mhm.
injuries were all about his head. So I believe, from what I've read, and the most of the injury was to the back of his head.
Right. So but he could have been attacked from behind, and then
Yeah.
when he was placed, he would
Yes.
lay flat.
Yeah.
Because I agree. Like if most injuries to the back of the head, you would imagine that he probably would have been
Fallen
face
forwards.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And just fallen forwards where he was. Unless of course the person was at the side of him and hit him, and then he might
Mhm.
have fallen down and rolled onto his back. Well, the police,
Right.
obviously detectives, immediately sprang to action here, and then they pieced together Philip's movements on that day to see where he had been and what he had been doing. Now, Philip's friends confirmed that they had seen him that morning and they had been down to see the horses together, and that Philip had then said he was going home to see his mum. And we know that because he did go home and he did have his tea with his mum and showed her the money that he had earned. And then he had told her he was going back out again. Now, there were no witnesses that came forward at all about this case to start with. Police then obviously started with as many people as they could, which included hundreds of golfers that were members of the golf club and
Yeah.
hundreds of people that were on the golf course that day. And they sort of took loads of statements from them. Now, they also took a lot of statements from people living near the course. Now, a guy called Detective Chief Superintendent Arthur Hardy from Scotland Yard was brought in to lead the investigation. Okay, so they've come down from Scotland Yard, and during his investigation, he hijacked the public address system at Bristol Rovers Stadium, and in the halftime match against Stockport County, he actually did a speech about this case and about this boy, and up to 17,500 spectators heard as the chief superintendent pleaded for witnesses to come forward.
Mm.
Now, this did open up a floodgate of amount of people coming forward to talk about this case. There was an operations centre at King's Weston Police Station. It was so busy with tips and hints and people calling up to talk about the case that they actually nicknamed it the Sardine Factory, because there were so many people in and out of that police station to talk about this case.
Yeah.
By the end of that year, over 14,000 statements from people had been taken. 14,000. It's
Wow.
crazy, isn't it? That's a lot.
That's very crazy. Yes.
But still,
14,000.
nothing. Yeah, the police followed up every lead that they could, and there was nothing concrete. Now, the community were obviously disheartened by this, because there was just literally no news whatsoever on this. And 3 housewives from Sea Mills actually went door to door through the streets of Sea
Mhm.
Mills, collecting signatures and pledges from people that wanted to help catch the killer. And they raised over £1,000 as a reward. Now, obviously, back in the 70s, £1,000 was a lot of money. Oh, it's a lot of money
Oh, yeah.
now. But they raised this £1,000 to try and coax people into coming forward and to give information about what they know. It's believed that around 250 people passed through that golf club on the evening that Philip was killed.
On 250. What do they mean they passed through?
Well, would be playing golf
Like they
there, or
were they
would be
actually
there for
playing?
a reason. Well, I think it's just part. I think
Okay.
it's just coming through. So I think it's just, would that be staff? Would that be people that are there for other things in the golf course?
Okay.
That. But there were around 250 people that they could trace had been part of that golf club that evening.
See, it's what I'm curious about is, so if he was last seen at the house at 7 o'clock,
Hmm.
this is pretty, and it's early April, right? I mean, April
Yeah,
1st, of course.
yeah.
So I couldn't imagine that the sun was going to be out for that much longer.
No, no.
So the number of people who would have been either playing around that time would probably be much smaller than 250.
Well, I don't know. It's a big course. I don't know. I don't know generally how many people play golf on a day-to-day basis. I mean, if you're playing in groups of 4 and 5, possibly could it be that? But then, even 10 groups, that would only be 50, 50 people.
Yeah, I don't know. 250 sounds like a lot, but I mean, I understand you have
Maybe
staff
that's
and
including
everything
staff
other
and
else.
maintenance people. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Well, they
Hmm.
said that they said there that they believe that 1,000 people passed along Shirehampton Road, which is the road that Philip must have used to get from his house to the golf course.
Right. Okay, that would
So
make sense, all right?
yeah, so that would be the case, is that over 1,000 people they believe had passed through there, but yet nobody came forward to say that they had seen him, not even just sort of seen him. There's
Okay.
nothing. There's nothing to say that they either see him. When you look on the map that you kindly amended for me, because I am rubbish at
Uh-huh.
map, you can see that there's like a main road from where he lives. He has to cross over. There's like a roundabout, which might not have been there at the time, but he has to cross over. And then there's just this one long road. And you can see the golf course. You can
Right.
see it, from the maps here when I'm looking at the satellite. You can see all the
Mhm.
brush and you can see the trees there. You can see how many there are. I mean, it's quite a big area.
Yeah, I'm just looking too, because the easiest way into the golf course from where he lived
Mm.
would be probably at the end of, I don't know what the name of the street is.
Well, there's either Highgrove. I would say
High
he would
Grove,
walk
yeah.
along Highgrove, yeah, and then you've got Shirehampton Road,
Unless
which is the
he
B4054. Do you think
Yeah,
he walked
unless he jumps
all the way along, or do you think he cut through? Yeah,
No,
that's what I was
he would
thinking.
have jumped that wall. Yeah, he wouldn't have
I
went all the way
agree.
to the entrance. He would have jumped the wall right there.
There's definitely
And
there's definitely when you zoom in, there's definitely areas where he could have cut through there 100%. I doubt he would have walked
yeah,
the whole way.
and that would have put him, if he would have jumped the fence right there at the end of High Grove, that would have put him around hole, let me see if I can figure that out. That'd be hole 5. And if you just walk a little
Yeah.
bit farther south, you're on hole 12. I
Exactly.
think
And
that's what he probably
also,
did.
I agree. I agree with you. I also think if you think about it, he's heading for the brush. He's heading for those areas where
Mhm.
the golf balls are going to be lost to the golfers that he's going to go and retrieve. He's not going to be picking up golf balls that are on the smooth, lovely grass. He's going to be going into
No.
the areas where people lose the balls. So he's going to be
All
heading that
those
way.
trees. Yeah, where all those
That's
trees are,
right.
right in the middle.
So he's not going to walk the whole road all the way round to then walk back all the way
No.
round into the brush. He's gonna click through there somewhere, isn't he? Somewhere along that
Mhm.
Shirehampton Road, he's gonna have got through there.
So here's the other thing I was just thinking about too, because you said
Hmm.
that it appeared that it was what you would say was an oak branch that was
Yes.
placed on him and that was
Yeah.
used. Um, if it was someone that was playing golf on the course that killed him,
Yeah.
why would they use an oak branch? They have golf clubs.
Well, there are reports. You beat me to it. There are reports that
Mhm.
they're rumours. I should say they're not official police reports, but there are rumours
Mhm.
that his injuries were also consistent with that of being hit with a golf club. Now, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know how true that is or whether it's just local rumors because he has
Mhm.
been found on a golf course and it's just one of those Chinese whispers things that have come through. But there were local rumors at the time to say that people had believed that he had been hit with a golf club first.
Yeah, I mean, because if he was hit with a golf club, that would make a very definitive mark. There'd be a very
Yes. Yes.
you'd be able to tell, like, okay, this was from a golf club. Even like if he was hit multiple times, bruising could show,
Yeah.
signs it was a golf club. If there was, if if he had fractured skull, that
Mm.
could indicate the size of the weapon. That could indicate a golf club. So that would be interesting. But then you would get to the question of why would someone attack him too, right? If you're a
Yeah.
golfer, did he accidentally grab a golfer's ball and they got upset and,
Mhm.
you know
Swung and hit him on, by accident, not by
yeah.
accident, but swung and hit him, and that's what happened. I mean, when detectives found him, there was no sign of any sexual assault on Philip's body, no theft. He still had his money
Mhm.
with him. There was no theft. There was no signs of any fights, no signs of any arguments. Nobody reported hearing anything. Nobody reported seeing anything. So, what would exactly that? What would the MO be and the motive be for killing a
Mhm.
small child? So, the Shirehampton golf course is at the moment current fees for the golf course for a full gold unrestricted playing membership are £95 a month. So not as
Right.
much as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more than that. So going back to the 70s, I couldn't find out how much it was in the 70s, but I'm thinking that people that have got funds to be able to have a golf membership are the kind of people that are in a good financial situation. Golf clubs
Oh,
aren't
yeah.
cheap, and generally, I don't know if they do
Mhm.
hire out golf clubs, but I doubt it. Most people have their own golf clubs. Most people have their own, and you get to know the same people, the same faces, don't
Right.
you, at somewhere like that?
But typically golf courses are cheaper when you're doing those twilight hours as well.
Mm,
So, you will get people that might not be able to afford going all the time.
yeah,
They might, say, "Okay, let's just do this random weekday night and
yeah.
go play, as much as we can before it gets too dark."
I've never played golf, so I have no idea.
Yeah, it's usually cheaper in the evening because,
Right.
well, first off, the lighting conditions is not that great, and then you might
They're
not be
not
able to
usually
get all your
floodlit though,
holes
are
in.
they?
No, no, no,
No,
no,
no, no.
they're
Okay.
not.
No. So
Uh-uh.
there's no chance, there's no chance these people are playing at night. They're going to be playing until the lights down, basically.
Yeah. So to me, I think there's really three options here, right?
Okay.
Option one to me is someone observed Philip heading to the golf course or heading onto the golf course and followed him in. Okay.
Right.
Second option is he was going back to the golf course to meet somebody,
Okay.
or he just happened to upset a golfer and they attacked him. Because looking at how it's laid out and how it's tree lined. So it's not like someone's
Yes.
going to observe him on the golf course and go, "Oh, look, there's a kid, I'm going to go and attack him."
No.
So it's not like someone's just gonna randomly just come across him and decide they're gonna attack him. This isn't it's not open to the public. You're not gonna have people just walking through the golf
No.
course willy
No.
nilly, right? The only people that are gonna be on the golf course are the people that are gonna either be playing or possibly people that are staff and working there. You're not gonna have general public
No.
walking in and out of that place.
And the whole place is that the whole perimeter are main roads. So it's like you say, it's not the sort of
Hmm.
people that place that people are just going to cut through. As far as I could see and as far as I could find online, there isn't any like public rights of way that were listed.
No.
It's a private golf course, and so there's
Hmm.
no, because well, I used to live right near a course, and there was a public right of way through it, but they had signs up everywhere to say that you're walking through at your own risk and that there are golfers, so you need to watch out for golf balls, that because obviously being smacked in the head with one of those is going to really hurt. And I wonder,
Right.
that made me think then, he's obviously going onto the golf course for a specific reason. He's heading for those areas where these balls are going to be hidden from golfers so that he can earn himself some money. And I thought the same
You're
thing
right.
as you. This something that he's done something wrong? He's picked up the wrong ball and somebody's got angry with him. And I mean, you'd have to be pretty mad to swing a club at somebody just for the first thing they did
Oh
wrong.
yeah.
You know, it's not like he's arguing. Nobody reports seeing him arguing with anybody. Um, there was one witness that eventually came forward, and that witness described seeing a scruffy looking man climbing over the wall between Shirehampton Road and the golf course. Now, this was at
Okay.
8:15 p.m. He was said to be about 5'7" with black greased back hair. He wore a light coloured baggy trench coat, and the trench coat was one of those ones that came right down to his calves. Now, this guy has never been identified. He's never been traced. He's never been questioned. So I'm thinking,
Uh-huh.
okay, I wonder if at this golf course, I wonder if they have an issue with rough sleepers. Do they have a problem with, because you can't access the whole of the golf course from all the way round? I wondered if this is a case where along the bottom where the A4162 is, before
Yes.
that sort of the bottom of what on the map it looks like the bottom of the golf course, there's a lot of
Yes.
trees down there, and I'm wondering, could it be that perhaps he disturbed a rough sleeper, or he disturbed something that was going on in that area, and obviously that person realizes that he could be seen, he could be traced, because this little kid could identify him. So who would be rummaging around in woodlands? Who else would be in woodlands? What sort of person, if it's not a golfer, what sort of person is going to be there? You've got the obviously maintenance staff. Could it be that it was somebody who worked at that? I'm sure the police would have alibied and spoken to everybody who worked there. But did he come across something that he shouldn't have done? Did he come across some kind of dodgy dealing? Did he come across some sort of perpetrator who was planning attack of some sort? It seems that he was randomly hit. He wasn't tortured. He wasn't sexually assaulted. Was he killed to stop him being a witness to something? It's very easy to
Mhm.
overpower a small child. If you hit us
Yeah.
as an adult, if you hit a small child with a weapon, it's surely going to result in death. I doubt very much that it was an accident.
Oh, I don't think it was an accident.
But
Yeah,
then
in
you
a
look at
sense of
it and yeah,
no, I was gonna say not an accident in in a situation where it's like he was climbing a tree and the branch broke and he fell,
No.
or accident as in I accidentally killed him because I lost my temper. Okay,
Mm.
maybe. Yeah.
Or I he got hit in the face with a golf ball, or he got hit in the head with a golf ball, and then they make it
Right.
look like he was attacked because he was
Right.
if he's got
Okay.
hit in the head with a golf ball, it's definitely somebody who is on the golf course. But if
Yeah.
they make it look like he was hit by someone, then it makes it look like it was a murder, not an accident.
No, I have reservations about this whole witness seeing this scruffy looking man,
Okay.
um, because of knowing where Philip was found
Yeah.
and where they said they see him, climbing the wall.
Mm.
Uh, he would have had to really walk all the way across the golf course,
Yeah.
right? So one,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5.
5
He
holes.
would have
6
crossed
holes?
at least 5 holes, 5 or
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
holes he would have had to cross
Yeah.
to in order to get to where this woman or this witness said he jumped a fence.
Mm.
So unless if that did happen, you would think that someone on the golf course would have noticed a man
Yes. And reported
crossing
it. Yeah.
and would have reported it. Yeah. Now, it's more likely if someone had killed someone, they wanted to get away. If you're on the 12th hole, you are gonna go and, you know, get out where what would that be? Either Sylvan Way, which is directly to the south,
Yes.
or the what was it? The
That's the A
A4
that is,
or
yeah,
you
A4162, that's Sylvan Way, yeah, same
Oh,
one.
yeah, Sylvan Way, yeah, so Sylvan
Or
Way,
there's
the
the
A4
A4, yeah, Portway,
yeah,
the
so
huge one.
so if they would've said, "Yeah, I saw someone, like, coming out of the woods or jumping the wall on one of
Yeah,
those 2 streets,"
yeah,
then, yeah, I would take that a lot more serious than a potential sighting
mm,
on the very north edge of the golf course where this person would have had to cross multiple holes to get there.
holes, yeah, to get to him. Now, it seems police did take, I mean, even for the 70s, police did take tapings of fibres from Philip's clothes. Now, Philip was wearing a navy blue gabardine raincoat. He was wearing dark grey flannel trousers, a blue and white striped shirt, and an orange knitted
Mhm.
tie. Bless him. Police have since been able to test those tapings for DNA, along with the bloodstained branch, also his belt and his shoes. All of those DNA tests have drawn a blank. So none of them have identified a perpetrator. And I don't know from reading the reports, I don't know if this means that they have not got a DNA profile from it, or whether it means that the
Mhm.
DNA has just drawn a blank and that there isn't anything worthy to note really from those tape-ins. I mean, we
Okay.
know that the blood on him was his. We know that the blood, obviously, from his head and
Yes.
surrounding him, and I would imagine most of the blood on that branch. I mean, police don't even nowadays they don't have the resources to test every single tiny piece of that branch. So they've probably tested the area that's got the biggest amount of blood on it that they could test.
Right.
We still don't have infinite money for DNA testings. But so far, nothing. That it's all come back with nothing. Now, Detective Superintendent Arthur Hardy had an assistant at the time, and the assistant was called Detective Sergeant Morris Marshall. He's now retired, and he spoke in an article which was published by the BBC where he said, quote, Arthur and I spent 8 months in Bristol before we had to reluctantly admit that no further meaningful lines of inquiry existed.
Mm.
In 30 years as a detective, both as an assistant and later as a senior investigating officer, I was involved in many murder inquiries in this country and abroad, but this is the only case that was not solved.
That's
It's
this one is weird. This one's very weird.
for them, it's
Bec
really weird because there seems to be no reason for it.
No, there's no reason. And I was just thinking, there's a lot of things going through my head, but I'm sitting here and thinking, like, okay, let's say that was a golfer. Typically, it's very rare to see someone out golfing by themselves, right? Even though it's a
Yeah.
solitary sport, it's never
Yeah.
played solitarily. If you were out golfing with your friend or buddy and they end up killing an 11-year-old, I mean, would you be okay with that? And would you just keep your mouth shut?
No. No, of course not.
No. I mean,
And I mean, I don't
So
know. So I don't know how. I don't play golf, so I don't know if. So if we were to be playing golf together, say, and you were to hit the
mhm,
ball off into the woods, say, okay, would we
right.
both go in to find that ball, or would I just have to trust that
No.
the ball is gonna be where you said it was, and you're not just gonna drop another ball and say, "Oh, I found it. It's here, right on the edge of it." So,
No, no,
so you wouldn't
unless
go in together, or
no, you wouldn't unless both your balls are in the same area, you wouldn't, right? You would head off towards your ball, I would head off to my ball,
right?
and that would be it. I mean,
So there would be no reason then if you were to go off into the woods and you would be in the woods for say, I don't know, 10 minutes, there would be no reason for me to come with you. Would that be a normal thing, or would I just carry on,
no.
or you would think, hang on
Oh,
a
no, I
minute,
don't
where
think
has he
so. Like,
gone? He's
wait,
been gone for
yeah,
ages.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
if they're playing in a group, say, and one of them is off in the woods trying to find his ball in air quotes for like 10, 15
yeah.
minutes, that would be a strange thing. So people would
It
notice that.
would because you have to remember too that there's a chance that there's people behind you playing as well, right?
Yeah.
And so you're gonna be holding up them, and if they're being held up, then the people behind them are gonna be held up. And no, that's a big no-no. You're not gonna hold people up
Mm.
from playing.
So there's that
So you
that's answered my question completely then. So if it was a golfer and the golfer has gone off into the woods, has accidentally hit this small boy and then has tried to make it look like an accident, surely hitting him with a golf ball is more of an
no.
accident than hitting him over the head with a branch.
Right. Yeah, you're not gonna be playing golf. You're not gonna kill a boy and then just like telling other golfers, go ahead, play through while I take care of this
No.
body, you know?
So the chances are then it's not a golfer. Realistically, the chances are it's not a golfer that's just deviated off.
It's hard to imagine that it would have been a golfer. Could you imagine if it was a golfer that did it, something would have come out and we wouldn't be talking about this case today.
Yeah. And
Either
also
a
the
buddy
fact that
would have
this is
like,
it's a very bloody death. So surely that
yeah,
person that you there is
had blood on them.
yeah, there is a dress code. I looked up and there is a strict dress code for golf. You're not allowed
Mhm.
to wear like jeans, and you have to have your shirt tucked in, and you have to be has to be the right way round. You can't wear your hat with the peak at the back. So it's quite strict. And so the chances of that person hitting him over the
Yeah.
head with a branch or a golf club, say, and not having any blood splatter on them is very, very rare. That's going to be really rare.
Right. Right. And I don't think blood splatter is a part of the golf, you know,
Attire.
the dress code. You know,
No.
you're not going to be walking around with blood all over you and no one's going
And
to
no one
question like
notice.
right,
Mm.
exactly. I don't know, it's so strange because like okay, so you would think on a golf course, chances of it being a golfer is high, right?
Yeah,
Because
of
that's who's
course.
on a golf course.
Yeah.
But then you get to the question of, well, if it wasn't a golfer, then who could it have been? Who- Was he was it a another kid that he got in a fight with? Like was he going out to meet a friend at the golf course to collect balls
Mm.
and him and the friend get into a fight and the kid whacks him over the head? Because kids are
Possibly.
spontaneous
Yeah.
and
I mean,
kids
that's a
do
good avenue
dumb
to look
things
down. It's a good avenue
sometimes.
because maybe there was other kids that were there collecting balls, and obviously he's there on his own collecting balls, and things have gone wrong. You know, kids do dumb shit, don't
Yeah.
they? And
Look, if one kid has an idea, there's another 3, 4, 5 kids that have that same idea. He's
mm,
not the only kid out there collecting golf balls.
no,
So is this a I'm not to like make light of it, but was this a turf battle where one
yeah,
kid thinks that like, no, this is, I collect balls.
yeah,
You can't be doing this. This is, this is my area. This is what I do. And then
yeah.
a fight occurs between the two of them.
Possibly. I mean, it's one of
Because
those things you've got to think of. My immediate thought
Mhm.
was the maintenance people. Like, what if it was a member of staff there that's gone, oh, you little shit, you shouldn't be. This is back in the day where a clip round the ear from an adult is not unheard of. I'm wondering whether
Right.
it was. So then I tried to see if I could find an employee list. Obviously, you can't. But I tried to see if I could find an employee list. I wonder maybe it was something like that. Maybe it could have been. It could have been that he's not supposed to be, because I don't think you're allowed to be on the golf course either collecting balls. I don't think they have people that do that. They have the person that goes out and dredges the lakes
Right.
and the water, don't they?
Mhm.
And obviously this kid is trying to sell the balls back. So could this have been a staff member that's gone and, done something.
Yeah, possibly,
But they
but I don't
haven't
know
made this
if
try and
they
look like
would.
an accident, because you're making it look like a murder. If it was an accident, you're not going to make it look like
Mhm.
a murder. So, I mean, by hitting him with a tree branch, you're making it that it is a murder. You're showing that you've got a
It's a
weapon. You
murder,
leave the
yeah.
weapon there, so it's not like it looks like an accident, because it doesn't.
I don't know. I don't know. I get this, like, all of a sudden, I'm starting to get this feeling like it was another kid. I don't know why. I
Yeah.
just get that feeling.
Well, I mean, the
I
case
mean,
went cold, and unfortunately, Gladys and Ivor never found out what happened to their son, which I think is really sad, because it must
right.
be horrible to not know. It's over 50 years now since Philip was found. There's a new detective, Detective Constable Claire Nelson of Avon and Somerset Police. She is with the Major Crime Review team, and she quoted in in another BBC article that for over 50 years, Phillip Green's family had lived with this brutal crime and have not had closure. Then she goes on to say, and I always love to pick apart what the police choose to say in their press releases, because they are very, very well
Mhm.
thought. We know that there's a lot of thought that goes into them. Now, she says someone out there has the information that could solve this murder and provide Philip's family with the answer they need to move on. I'm sure that over the last 50 years, people's priorities have changed. I would urge anyone with any information to contact us. It doesn't matter how small that piece of information is. Let us decide if it is relevant. Now,
Oh.
looking at what she said and picking apart what she's saying, I think
Mhm.
further puts the point to what you said. The fact that this could be another kid or a group of kids. In fact, that there's more than one person that knows what happened that evening, and now
Yeah.
allegiances have changed as they've got older, and now there could be a reason to come forward and say, look, I was a kid at the time, this is what was going on, and this is the person who was responsible.
Mm.
So that makes me think that you
Yeah.
are maybe on the right track. Reading what the detective says now in the cold case
Yeah.
reviews, could it be that they think that more than one person, because of the priorities changing, could it be that that's what they're
Right.
saying?
Interesting. That is
Maybe your
interesting.
kid came home that night and said, so and so was in a fight, blah, blah, blah. And you don't want your kid to be involved in that. So you don't say anything.
Mm.
And then the parents of the
Exactly.
other kids don't say anything. So
Mhm.
multiple parents know what's going on, know the whispers around town, but they're not going to put their kid in the frame because their kid's going to get in trouble for not saying something, even though they didn't actually do anything
Right.
themselves. So that made me think
Right.
you're on the right track there.
That's the only thing that, to me,
Mm,
that's the only thing that really makes sense.
yeah.
I don't I mean, so I guess there was 4 options, and well, no, I guess I said that
Yeah.
he
You did say it was kids.
he yeah, yeah, that's what I'm going with. That's what I just get this feeling, right?
Mm.
I get a feeling that there was some sort of fight between Philip and
Kids.
another
Yeah.
kid or a group of kids,
Mm.
and there was an unfortunate incident. I don't think there was any intention to kill him,
No.
but that's what happens when kids are dumb and they make irrational decisions.
Now, obviously, I wanted to look to see what other crimes had happened in the area before we discounted the fact that there might be
Right.
some crazy serial killer on the loose. I searched to see the what was solved, what was unsolved, anything of similar MO.
Mhm.
There were no solved cases that had the same MO as this case. And although there were other cases, such as like the Clifton rapist, which was 1977, Christopher Hampton, that had raped and savagely beaten Melanie Rode, there were no other cases like Phillips. There
Didn't
were
we have a
serial killings and rapes, but there were no other, not like this,
did
not
you had
children.
another case where someone was found dead on a golf course within the past year? I can't remember who it was now. I don't
No,
think
I
it was the
can't
same
remember.
time period.
No, no, it wasn't in the same area. I don't think either.
No. But no, but as soon as you said golf course, I just started thinking about that one. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember like,
Yeah,
yeah, there
there
was
was. Yeah, there
another
was
person.
one. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, there was. So yeah,
Interesting.
so
Okay.
unfortunately, it's still unsolved. It has been sealed for 87 years on the archives. I went and checked to see if I could put in a freedom of information request, but no, it's been sealed for 87 years. So the archives don't give up much help.
Why?
And despite, well, but apparently, I spoke to somebody at the archives, and apparently they seal all unsolved cases because of any
Okay.
new information that could come to light. So they seal all the unsolved ones, and then you can get the solved cases, you can get those archive records out. This I find very strange, because I can understand that there will be things in this case that would need to be redacted to protect the identity of certain
Yes.
people. However, there will be some information that they could give out that would be more helpful. I think that they could give out a set kind of list of things so that people like you and I can come along and say, right, look, this is what the police have. This is what they're looking for. This is what they want to know. Do you
Hmm.
remember this? Do you remember seeing this? Do you remember hearing this? All on the list, so that it's another resource for police to do, because I think it's a waste. I think it could be a really good source for police to have podcasters, particularly to get this information out to their thousands, sometimes millions of listeners a week, every
Right.
week, and a podcast episode that we did last year, the year before, could just be being listened to now by a person that's only just come across our podcast, that is looking for crimes in their area, and they go, oh, look,
Hmm.
Crimepedia did this episode about that case along the road from us, let's have a listen. And
Right.
there's something in it that they go, oh my god, do you remember mum used to have
Hmm.
this, blah blah. So for me, I think that police have got such a valuable source in podcasting that they could use to their advantage. They don't have to give out information that they don't want
Hmm.
out there, but they
Yeah.
could
Exactly.
use podcasts as, to do the half of the work for them, to get that out there, because people listen all the time from all over the country.
Yeah. And they only have so much time, right? A lot of times
Of
these
course they
cold
do.
cases are assigned to like
Yeah.
a single person, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And they'll do what they can, but that is
Uh-huh.
not that's not the only thing that they're doing. There's
No.
current cases they're working on. There's always going to be new cases that they have to
Yep.
take care of. So these kind of fall to the wayside, and
Yeah.
they look at them and they get to them when they can.
And that's the thing for me. I'm quite passionate about cold cases because I feel like that's exactly what happens. New cases come up all the time, and of course they take precedent because they are happening right now. Everything is fresh, evidence is fresh. The cold cases aren't going anywhere. They're still cold now, like they were 10 years ago. There's no
Hmm.
urgency on them. But I feel that it would be really good for law enforcement to put together a kind of team. You don't have to be you don't have to be a qualified person to research cold cases. So I think use those people whose passion is true crime or their work is true crime. Use them to your
Hmm.
advantage. I guarantee, I would say 97% of podcasters would work on a case for free. They would work on that case just to
Yeah.
help
Oh
out.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
I
that
had.
they should do that. They
I
should
think this
use
is
them.
one. I think this is one of those cases too that they have the answer
Yeah, I agree.
in their case file
Yeah.
already. It's just they just
Yeah,
need to work it out, and they got to
I
figure
agree.
it out.
They just got to get somebody to come out and say this little snippet of information. I mean, it's still actually active. It's a cold case, but it's still actually actively being investigated. So if anybody with
Right.
information that could help the inquiry is asked to call the Major Crime Review Team, the phone number for that is 0845 456 7000. Now, I know that not everybody wants to speak to law enforcement. Not everybody's comfortable with bringing things forward. By all means, send it to us and we will pass it on for you on your behalf. So it's not an issue. There's no reason, if you have any information, to not come forward with it.
Yep. Mm.
And that is this week's case for you.
Well, thank you very much for that. That was a very good case.
Frustrating, but good.
Oh, absolutely frustrating.
I just feel that little boy. I just feel like it's unfinished business for him. I just want
Yeah.
there to be a resolution for him to rest peacefully.
Yeah. He
It's
just
sad.
Sad
When
he
a
just wanted
kid
to get golf balls. He just wanted to
just
make a
collect
little
his
bit of
ball.
money. I mean, he
Yeah,
wasn't
collect
making a
his golf
whole lot of
balls.
money.
Yeah. No.
I mean, you said he made 2 pence. I mean,
Yeah.
that's nothing. But I mean, it was probably
No.
huge for him.
To
but-
him, it was huge. That's right, exactly. And that just goes to show like it's a little kid. Didn't deserve that.
Mhm.
Didn't
No, not
deserve
at
that.
all. No, not at all. All right. Well, Cherry, with that, how about we lighten the mood a little bit with a section we call Dumb Criminal?
Let's go.
Hey, you's a dummy. And you's a piece of shit.
I first of all thought you said a sexual dumb criminal then. I was like,
A
whoa,
sexual.
this
Let's
is
do a
taking
sexual dumb
this is
criminal.
taking a turn for a different kind of
Wow,
podcast.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, 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 wow. No. We have actually a pair of dumb criminals, a pair of real idiots, all right? So this was a few years ago. So two men from Arkansas, Charles Eugene Ferris, who was 50 years old at the time, and Christopher Hicks, 36. They were arrested on charges of felony aggravated assault, okay?
Okay.
Now at least one of them, Ferris, was taken to a hospital where authorities would question him as to,
Yeah.
how they ended up in the hospital. Okay. Now, Ferris said that he was hired
Yeah.
to protect a quote unquote asset who paid him $200 to follow him into the woods at Hobbs State Park. He said that the pair went out into the woods and met another man around 10 p.m. The man would approach Ferris's asset, when a gunfight broke out. Ferris said he was
Right.
struck 6 times, but also managed to return fire before driving off with the asset. Okay. He said that
Right.
he then the quote unquote asset dropped him off at his vehicle before he dumped his weapon and drove himself to Mercy Hospital. All right. Now, a little bit later, Ferris's wife would arrive at the hospital and would tell investigators that her husband and the other man, Christopher Hicks, shot each other while drinking on the back porch of their home on Deer Run
What?
Lane in Rogers.
In
So Ferris would later
Rogers? Oh, I've
in
been there.
Rogers.
I've been
You
there.
have
No
been there.
way.
So Ferris would later recant his initial story to deputies, saying that he made it up to keep Hicks from getting in trouble. So what really happened was, while these two buddies were out drinking on the back porch,
Yeah.
Ferris decided to put on a bulletproof vest and asked Hicks to shoot him with a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle.
What an idiot.
Now the vest stopped the bullet, but it still hurt and left a mark in his chest. Now Ferris would become pissed because he was hurting from the shot, and then unloaded the clip into Christopher's back after he put the bulletproof vest on.
What if they missed and hit each other in the head?
Exactly.
Jeez, that's crazy.
So these two buddies decided it would be fun to shoot each other. These are Class D felonies, which are punishable
Oh
by
my
up to 6
God.
years in prison and
Oh
a maximum
dear.
fine of $10,000. So, it's okay to go and hang out and have a few drinks with buddies. It's not okay to put on bulletproof vests and shoot each other.
Don't play with guns. Alcohol and guns do not go well together, guys. Not a good idea.
They do not go well together. No, so these are two huge dummies.
Very dumb criminals. Very, very dumb. So before we go, there's just one more thank you that we need to do. We need to say thank you very much to the lovely Dee and Randa of the Switchblade Sisters Social Club, because they were very lovely and recommended us in an article which was asking about their favourite unsolved true case, a true crime podcast that did unsolved cases. And they recommended us, which I thought was really, really kind of them. So thank you, girls. We very much check out their podcast. It's a great podcast, and you might be hearing some familiar voices on there very soon.
Well, that was very nice of them.
It was really nice of them. So thank you very much, guys. And we love it when you recommend our podcast. It's really great for us. It keeps us doing what we're doing. And you can do that with just a review if you want to. It keeps our little podcast up in the charts. And it's very exciting when we get the little chart downloads to see where we are and where we're not. So thanks for all your reviews. We really, really appreciate you taking the time to do that. And we appreciate you listening to our show.
Oh, absolutely. Just want to give you a quick little note that you should be expecting just a small little break from us here coming up. We don't want to surprise you, but we will be taking a break here soon in a couple of weeks. We have a few things going on, but don't you worry. We'll be back with more episodes.
Yes, it's not a season finale. It's just a break for us both for a couple of weeks, and then we'll be back as normal and we'll carry on as we normally do. So thanks for joining us this week. We will see you next week. And for now, be nice.
And bye.